Hey friend, welcome to Guided by Faith. I'm your host, Jay Holland, and you are listening to a unique set of podcasts over a couple weeks span. God opened a door for me to get to visit quite a few people in South Asia over a couple weeks span. Because of that, I needed a little bit of margin on the podcast recording part, but also I wanted to share with you some of my foundational episodes from the very beginning of Guided by Faith. These are some things that I got to talk about with different friends when we were in South Asia. If you listened to them a year ago, I would love for you to listen to them again because they apply every bit as much as we talk about God's purpose and plan for your life, who you are, what your value is, what your identity is, and what God intends to do with you. So listen to this for the first time or listen again. If you're one of my friends from South Asia that I got to meet, it was great to connect with you, and I hope that we can continue to connect through Guided by Faith. Pray for your brothers and sisters around the world as we get to spend eternity together in a new heavens and new earth with every tribe, tongue, and nation. So enjoy this episode. I pray that it's a blessing to you today. All right, welcome back. It's good to have you today. This week we are talking about how we are wired for worship, that we were planned by God for His pleasure. I love that. In Revelation 4, I think it's verse 11, God says, the angels that are going around God's throne say that God is worthy to receive glory and honor, for He created everything, and for His pleasure they were created. So you were created for God's pleasure. And I love that. Think about the fact that God, as the creator, made you and loves you. Like He gets pleasure out of the fact that you exist. That's a huge thing. Sometimes I don't get pleasure out of the fact that I exist. But to know and realize that God does is an encouragement to my heart, and I hope it is to yours as well. Well, this week we're talking about how we are wired for worship. Why? Because worship brings God pleasure. As a matter of fact, the simple definition, we talked about two definitions of worship: treasuring God above everything, which is lofty and high and ultimately what I want to do, but something that I feel like I fail at a lot. But the other definition of worship is what we do that brings God pleasure, anything that we do to bring God pleasure. And so yesterday I introduced to you the first step on a pathway to worship, and that's gratitude. And remember, we said what you feed will grow and what you starve will die. So if you grow in gratitude, your thankfulness, your spirit will grow. But if you focus on comparison, you focus on anxiety, you focus on bitterness, that's going to grow in you as well. What you feed will grow, what you starve will die. Today, I want to talk about the second pathway to worship that we can experience and that you should experience. And it's going to be a primary one. It may not be one that you love, but it's one that will radically change your life. And that's obedience. Obedience to God is a pathway to worship. Jesus says in John 14:15, if you love me, keep my commandments. If you love me, keep my commandments. So don't tell me that you love me. Don't tell me that you love God, and then you just turn around and do the exact opposite of what God says. That doesn't show love. That would be like me telling my wife, Emily, I really love you, and I'm going to go on a date with this other girl tonight. That shows the opposite of love. If my kids say, Dad, I love you, but I'm going to do the complete opposite of what you just asked, well, don't say I love you. That doesn't show me love. In 1 John chapter 2, verses 3 and 4, it says, and by this we know that we've come to know Him, if we keep His commandments. Whoever says, I know Him, but does not keep His commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him. And so I want to make this very clear. You do not get saved by keeping God's commandments. As a matter of fact, the reason that I need to be saved, the reason that I need to put my faith in Jesus Christ and to have His salvation is because I break God's commandments all the time. But in humility and in asking for His forgiveness, I come to Him. I trust that Jesus died on the cross to save me from my sins, to give me a new heart and a new life. And out of gratitude, out of the fact that I'm now a new creature and belong to Him, I want to keep His commandments. I want to follow Him. And so it doesn't mean that I never sin, but it means I don't have a heart for sin. I don't want to do that. When you love God, you want to worship Him, and one of the ways that you worship Him is by keeping His commandments. Now, I want to caution you, sometimes God will call you to do things. Sometimes you'll read it clearly in Scripture. Sometimes you'll have a conviction in your heart that you're supposed to do something and you don't understand it. And as Americans, I want to know why for everything I do. But the reality is that God doesn't often give you the why. And sometimes he doesn't give you the why until you obey. I love this quote by Rick Warren. And by the way, over the course of this podcast, over time, I'm going to quote people that I love some of their stuff. I may not agree with all of their stuff, but we can get a lot of treasure out of people that we don't agree with 100%. So just don't take everything I say. I'm going to quote Gandhi at some point. It doesn't mean that I want to lift up everything that Gandhi says. Anyway, Rick Warren says, God doesn't owe you an explanation or reason for everything he asks of you. Understanding can, but obedience can't. Instant obedience will teach you more about God than a lifetime of Bible discussions. Let me say that again. Instant obedience will teach you more about God than a lifetime of Bible discussions. In fact, you will never understand some of God's commands until you seek to obey them first. And so if you want to understand God, you want to learn more about God, then I encourage you, maybe there's something in your life today that you know you're supposed to obey, but you don't understand why you're supposed to obey. You don't really want to obey. And I want to challenge you today, make it an object of your worship to just simply obey. Trust and obey, and then trust that God will show you what you need to know along the way. Don't wait for understanding. Obedience comes and then understanding comes. Following God comes and then a deepening of relationship comes. You're not going to get all of the why answers before you obey, and you're not going to get all of the why answers even on this earth. But as you obey, God will reward you, God will grow you, and God will be pleased with you as you're worshiping him.